Okay, so first things first, to actually develop your macros and stuff, you need to activate developers tab. To do that, you need to go to file, options. Once you are in options, go to customize ribbons and check this developer option. And once that's done, you got yourself the developer tab. Uh, that's basically the first step. So next, I'll show you why this developers tab. Now you can insert many ActiveX controls, for example, a button, like a button, and when you double click it, you can edit your macros. Okay, now that you have activated the developers tab, you should know a basic thing. You should know what's range. For example, A1, it's in range. A1 all the way to, you know, mm, let's say B6, A1 all the way to B6. It's in range. Now, A1 all the way to B6, it's a range. Now, let's say your boss is really an asshole and he wants you to add 12, 12, whatever, a number all the way from A1 to M34. What can you do here? So, this is where we actually dive into macros. So I'm just gonna press Alt plus F11. Oh, that was F12. Alt plus F11. Uh, Remember this. Let's just create a new module. This will be a new module where we'll say sub. I'll just write the code first. I won't speak. So you see, as I wrote sub and my macro, it already entered this parentheses for me. Next thing is you can write a simple line of code. Now, if you have a programming background, you might think this is just so easy, but for all those who don't have programming background, you just have to write a simple line of code, and that's just gonna be range. Now, it's gonna prompt you what you can enter after range. So you can say from A1 all the way to, let's say, what was it again? mm, M34, let's just say. And all you have to do is write this line of code and run. Either you can run it by clicking this play button or just pressing F5 on your keyboard. Just run the macro and you see the computer did your work for you, and just you can, do stuff a little easy. It's like a little easy, you know what I mean? Just a little easy. This is what macros are used for. Basically, that's pretty simple. Let's say your boss knows you're going to use a macro and he wants to make your life really even more hard. Um, G15 as well as C5, G15. Whole this set. He wants this whole set to be 79. So what do you do? You open your macros, correct? All the you say all the way you want 34. Then you can enter a next line of code, saying range, um, let's say from C5, it is correct, from C5 all the way to G15. Let's see, mm, all the way to G15. You want it to be equal to, let's say, 14. You want it to be equal to 14. Just edit the line of code, uh, run the program, just run, and there you go. All of this is now 14. So this is how you run double line of code. Okay, so there you go. You just created two lines of code. Congratulations, you're a programmer. Now, let's understand what's happening here. Okay, it's not magic. Trust me, it's really simple. So, what you can see when you press F5, let's just remove all of this. Fuck. Mm, there you go. There it works. Okay, so now that you have done that, I'm just going to ask you one simple question. What do you think will happen if we run this code? Take your time. You know the result. Just tell me what's going to happen as soon as I run this code. Uh, Now, be honest to yourself and tell what you think would have happened. Let's see. If you thought this all would be 78 except the ones which we selected earlier, they won't be 78 and they will be 14. You are kind of right. Not completely though. Not completely. So here's what happens. This line of code is really small and your computer runs through it rather very quickly. So it might appear at first that computer is already giving this set 14 while giving this all 78. That's not what happens. Now the computer will execute. It's like a procedural language. This line, let's say line 2 comes first. So the computer is gonna execute this line before giving it 14. So there's actually a way to show you this. Okay, for some reason you need to run it and then debug it, whatever. So here's what happens. The first line of code gets executed. Now you see the second line of code is highlighted. It's not yet executed, but it's about to be executed. So when the line executes, everything becomes 78. Now the second line, rather the third line, executes and takes C5 to G15 and changes the value to 14, and then the macro ends. That's exactly what happens. If you got that right, congratulations. If you didn't get that right, there's still hope. Okay, now let's say you want to save this macro enabled workbook. So you go to file. This is a pretty standard procedure, but I'm still walking you through it just in case you might learn something. Let's save it in documents and let's go ahead and save. Oh, what's that? It says this cannot be saved as macro free workbook because we have added macros, of course. So we need to change its format to macro enabled workbook. You can just click yes, right? You can just click yes and it would just save it. Or you can go Excel macro enabled template and save it. Boom, no error, and it's been saved. M stands for macro though, not memes, but macros. Poor sense of humor, but let's go. Now, let's just test if this video has helped you in any way. So, yes, what you're gonna do. No, not this. Of course, not this. You have to keep on forgetting it's fucking delete. Okay, you have to do, let's say, mm, you have to create a macro which basically does what I'm doing for you. Um, and let's say views. One thing this video is not gonna get. So let's see. You have to make sure that you do what I'm doing by macros. There are quite a few ways of doing this, uh, but I have to do this by macros. And now there are quite a few ways of doing this. And now you can pause the video and try it on your own. If you don't get it, just play the video. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to do it. Not that you haven't figured it out, but you know, you can either record a macro. Let's say you're going to record a macro and you want to give it a shortcut. You go ahead and give it a shortcut, but I'm just not going to do that. Uh, let's go. Do one ID. Oh, okay. You need bold disabled. Stop recording. And now, there you go. So you basically record the macro. Okay, go ahead, record it. Let's say this will be ID. This will be name. Like I told you, my M's fucking not working. I'm using, and views. So once you have done that, select all and don't see the time frame. Yeah, just do it. The time is not taken into consideration, and then you stop recording. Then you can go into your macros, double click on your macro too, and it will do exactly what it's told to. But let's see what's actually inside. See? Whoa. Now what's that? What's that, you ask? Uh, Range A, and you're selecting it. Like I said, I selected the range at first and then entered the ID. So the macro captured it as I'm selecting range A and giving it ID. Similarly, I'm selecting range B1 and giving it, I know, uh, giving it, you know. And then finally, I'm setting selection font to true. Now, this is not wrong. However, it's not optimized correctly. The one thing that separates a good programmer from a not so good programmer is optimization. Okay, same script could have done a lot much better if just these steps. Oh, this one is not at all necessary. Okay, just these extra lines of code would be deleted. Similarly, this would be deleted. And let's say this should would be deleted. So let me run you through the code again. Range A1 is ID, B1 is name, C1 is views, and then I select the entire range from A1 to C1. Remember, this colon means the entire range, and if you want to select just A1 and C1, you separate them with commas. I select the entire range and call a function. Don't worry, we use dot to call a function. We call its font, and then within this font, uh, first of all, we're selecting this range. We are calling its font function like the alphabets, and then within those alphabets, we are calling it to be bold and setting it to true. Uh, Now, once this is done, everything becomes bold. So by now, you must know how to set up basic macros. Here's what I'm going to show you now. And I'm just going to show you how it, oh, first I need to run it, of course. You can just step into from your, oh, you can do that, learn new things every day. This is initializing your macro, uh, not the interesting part. Let's move on to next one. Now, like I said, it doesn't select, it just enters ID. This is because now you might be thinking, why did ID become bold on its own? This is because it was already activated. Okay, this is completely not edited and I did not mess up. Let's go. Now I will debug and show you how it's done. Now I pressed F5 and stepped into my macro. Okay, you can do that. Stepping into a macro means debugging your code. Okay, so first of all, you're initializing your macro. Your macro has been called. Now, next step is you're selecting A1 and making it ID. Next one is doing same with B1 and C1. And now you're calling this all to be bold. And when you do that, everything becomes bold. And that's the end of the story. This is basically how you do it. Okay, so there is one more thing you need to know, and that is named range. Um, Named range is basically a range with a name. Let's say you named it Sam. Why not? And you named it Sam. Now press enter, or you're just gonna mess up, like I did not messed up last time, but whatever. Remember to press enter. That's it. And once you've done that, you can now edit your range. Like let's say range. Now you don't have to specify the cells from like we used to do A1 to C8 or whatever. You don't have to specify that. Just say Sam, and your Sam is now equal to, let's say, 12, and just run it. I don't. And the selected Sam or your name range is now 12. That's the last thing you need to know about ranges. Our video is basically completed. Now you know more about ranges than you previously did, and you have to thank me. To thank me, you can just subscribe to my channel. You can like and comment. Do you know the drill? I'll see you later, man. Peace.